before I guess we're going to go ahead and turn the time over to Michele. Michele was a deputy with Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office for quite a while. She is now out in California, working with a department out there, and is doing a lot of great work. And so I will go ahead and turn the time over to you, Michele.
Let me try to unmute myself here. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on this. Melissa reached out. I was grateful. I was like, oh, wow, cool. Thanks for asking me to do this. It's been a very interesting process of me transitioning to another state. We can talk about that a little bit later. That's part of my reconstruction. But yeah, I don't know some of the names I've seen on here. I'm not familiar with. I don't know if everybody on here knows my story. So I'll just give a brief synopsis of my story, since most of you know who I am and about Dan, my husband. So my husband, Dan Webster, was an Albuquerque police officer. He graduated the academy in December of 2006 after retiring from the U.S. Army in August of 2006, and after doing 20 years as a combat veteran. And he moved out to the Southwest. He wanted to be a cop. And that's when I met him. Shortly after he started there, I was his trainer at the gym. I used to be a personal trainer, and we became friends, and the rest is history. But Dan did 9 years with APD, and he spent a year working in Southeast Impact, basically to kind of get away from all his uses of force incidents that he was being told he had too many and blah, blah, blah. Everyone who knows Dan knows it. He was a total shit magnet. And I know Louie's on here, so he can tell you, and they were thick as thieves in those days, but he worked hard. He worked harder than any officer I've ever seen. And he literally played till the buzzer went off. Like I'd have to tell him to drive home with blinders on because he could not help but pull cars over 5 minutes from the house. And he worked. He loved being a cop. He loved helping other people. He loved all of it. And he took all of it very seriously. Dan went to work on October 21st of 2015, and he never came home. He got shot on a traffic stop. I won't even mention POS's name, who's now serving a life sentence. He's in federal prison and will serve after that. I think he'll probably die in federal prison. He won't even serve state time. But it was a motorcycle stop, stolen bike, pulls him over in a crowded Walgreens parking lot. He had a 17-year-old passenger on the back, and things just went south really quickly, and shot Dan 6 times up his right side at close range. And as he turned to run away, he fired the last 2 shots when Dan was already on the ground. So Dan survived for 8 days in the hospital. I always thought that because he got hit in the face in his neck area, like up here on his right side. And I always thought that was a fatal wound. I never knew until I read the autopsy that was not the fatal wound. Those of you sure know Dan was a very large man. He was not small, skinny, whatever. He had a very large shoulder girdle. We're talking 6'4", 270 pounds. And the one round that went into his shoulder up here ended up tearing through his clavicular cavity and tearing out his carotid artery. Dr. Drew is here. He could probably explain that better to you than I can, but that's the way I understood it. And when I read the autopsy, I was able to see that that's like the 1 in a million shots. You know, he survives this round that goes in his face, misses his trachea, misses his esophagus, misses his brainstem, everything. And that's the wound that kills him. He never regained consciousness. I stayed in the hospital with him, with a very large group of people who became my backbone. And I had to make the decision to take him off life support. And he died 8 minutes after we removed the breathing tube. So I know I made the right decision. Most people don't go that quickly. They usually hang on for a little bit, and Dan was ready to go. I wasn't gonna let him live hooked up to a machine, you know. So that was October 29, 2015. With my story being that I was also a deputy, I was actually getting ready to go into work when I started getting text messages from other people that I worked with that were just listening to the radio and started asking me, hey, is Dan okay? And that's when everything stops, that you want to rewind the movie. You want to go back in time and, you know, just stop everything from happening. And I couldn't do that. And I kept telling myself, this isn't happening. Like, you know, all of a sudden someone shows up at my door to take me to the hospital, and it's like this nightmare sets in. I never in a million years thought that I would be able to survive something like this. Part of what I wanted to talk to you guys today about, like, yes, this is about grief, but it's also about the resiliency that you have to have. Like, we are asked as first responders to put so much on our shoulders and carry it. And leading up to Dan's death, I was involved in a couple critical incidents at work. I was involved in my own shooting. My partner was almost killed on duty. And this was all 11 months prior to Dan getting shot. And I had literally just come back to work in May of that year from dealing with my own PTSD, my own struggles I was dealing with at work and with other things that I didn't think I was having a problem with, but my body was doing different things, right? And I felt really empowered that I'd worked through some of these demons and some of the trauma that I'd been experienced to. I mean, I'd never been exposed to anything outside of this job, right? And it was hard for me. And I felt really great that I was back on duty. I was feeling really good. I was strong. I was in really good shape. I was probably in the best shape I've ever been in my life. I had become a DT instructor prior with the ground control, all that stuff. I did all that and I felt really good about myself. I was doing MMA, jiu-jitsu training, and I was really strong. And that's why I was in a good place to be able to handle what was coming. And how we talk about, like, yes, you need to live like you're dying, because you do. You need to take care of yourself, because what's coming, we don't know what's coming, right? Are you in a position to physically handle the trauma? Are you in a position to where your body can handle that? I mean, some people don't handle trauma as well as others, and maybe because they weren't taking care of themselves. I don't know, but not everybody's going to be stronger as the next person. And it's important to really make sure you're eating well and exercising. I know it's like this thing, oh yeah, everyone says that. I'm telling you, it's saved my life. It saved me from completely going down a path of destruction, which I did go down a little bit. I'll talk about that. But I was able to go back to my roots of fitness, and the way that I knew helped me get better. And that's what I did. I, you know, on those stages of grief are real. When I got past that anger and bargaining stage, which Nils didn't really mention this, but the stages of grief float, I think. You will start in one and then you will go back all, like right now, I'm probably in acceptance and, you know, all that, but I've gone back to the anger a lot. I've gone back to other things. Depression, we go between those stages. So for me, I really sunk my teeth into, okay, I'm going to kick my ass in the gym. I'm going to try things I've never done before. I started competing in CrossFit, and my gym crew, I miss them so much. And I know, Trish, you're on here and you know how much I miss working out with Jocelyn and with Adrian, but those people, like, we just had such a rhythm in the gym, and I started doing Olympic lifting and doing these things that I never thought I could do. And I felt proud of myself. And I thought that this is what Dan saw in me. He saw that I was strong and saw that I was able to take care of myself regardless. And those are the things that kept me going. I do want to talk a little bit about some of the struggles I went through with work when I went back to work. I'm not here to bash anybody. I'm not here to say that someone did something wrong, but the reality is, and we all know that's why we're here doing these meetings, is you get blackballed pretty quickly when you don't just suck it up and move on, right? And especially when you're a girl, you already have a target on your back. You already are supposed to be just sucking it up and just be a man, right? And when you don't do that, because we have feelings and we're emotional, probably more so than some. And I wear my heart on my sleeve. Everyone who knows me knows that. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm not going to try to hide it. This is how I feel. This is what's fucking with me, and I need to talk about it. And not everybody likes that when you work in a semi-military police agency. And it was really difficult for me. I had a really hard time going back to work. I had a really hard time with people just questioning whether or not I should even be there. And what I did where I messed up, and you always look at yourself in your life and you go, if I could go back, right? If I could change something, what would I have done differently? And I don't like to say you have regrets, but I wish I would have given myself more time. I wish I would have not rushed to get back to work. I mean, I went back to work 30 days later. I didn't go back to patrol. I never went back to patrol. But I went back to work dealing with violent crime and, all these things where everywhere I went to interview a witness or a victim, it was, oh, you're that officer's wife. Oh, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to help you, or I'm here to do this. I'm here to, help with this scene, or I'm here to arrest this guy, or whatever it was. And it became very hard for me to do that. It became very hard for me to even just function at work. I was having a really hard time with a lot of things. And so what I started to do, like we all do, is we all drink. When we're stressed and we're depressed and we're pissed off, we drink. And I started what I was doing because I didn't want to be around people in Albuquerque. I wanted to be away from the judgment. I wanted to be away from, the media. Everywhere I went, it didn't matter what I was doing. I would be in Costco, I'd be in grocery stores. I could go to the bar with my friends for dinner and some reporter would be there, like, pointing and look like, what is she doing? Or who's she talking to? And it became madness. And I was just like, I have to get out of here. I have to get out. And I did. I left town a lot with my good friend, and we went out on trips on the weekends to go out of town where I could just escape. And that's when the destructive behavior took over. I started doing it pretty often. I was going once or twice a month, and I was going out of town and I was drinking and I was doing stupid things. It's a miracle I didn't get raped or like injured somewhere or left somewhere. And I did really stupid things. And thankfully, I have the people in my life. I don't know if they saw the behavior or I understood what was happening. I ended up getting really sick one day. I think I got alcohol poisoning. And it was my wake up call. I was like, I can't do this to myself. I'm killing myself. And it's like, Nils, you said, is this helping me or is this hurting me? And I knew it was hurting me. And I had already met Charles, my fiance now. That's why I'm in California. And he became sort of like this reason for me to like, look, you have an opportunity standing in front of you of someone who's trying to love you and you're pushing them away, which I was doing. Trying to love you and trying to accept you for how broken you are and to still say, yes, you're broken, but the broken pieces let the light in. And I started to kind of change my ways in that night. That's when I really started to get more involved in my training and started to really focus on work in a different way and putting myself together in other places. And, I developed that line of duty death class that I put together. And I said, I'm just going to start to try to help. I'm going to try to fix the problem instead of be the problem and, give myself something positive to go forward with. And that's what I did. And in doing that, I felt like I was getting really stronger or much stronger with a lot of things. And then trial came around and I was right back into those beginning stages of grief. We didn't go to trial for 3.5 years. 3.5 years. That whole time was like this up and down, battle of, can we just get this over with? And then the video is released and then this is happening. And we're going to trial. No, we're not. Okay. And I got so distracted with just wanting to kind of put that away. And it started to really affect me again in my life in negative ways. Like, you come up here, I was doing better. I was, feeling strong again. I was doing my EMDR therapy. I was getting successful in that. I was moving through a lot of that trauma. And now I felt like I was right back in the middle of it. And I was, for those 3 weeks, month of that trial, I was right back where I was right after it happened. And I had to let other people take care of me. You have to let other people help you. And so many of us as cops think, I'm fine. I don't need help. I can do this on my own. I'm not going to tell my spouse that I'm struggling. I'm not going to talk to my kids about anything. I'm just going to come home, and we've all hear the joke about, sitting in the chair, right? You talk about that's your spot, and you sit there and you don't talk to the world. And it's true, we do it. But that's why we have to take each other and help. We have to help each other. The stigma with not helping people when they're so broken. And I mean, I don't know anything about what happened, but I do know that you guys just had an officer involved shooting that involved an officer getting arrested shortly after the shooting just happened. And all I can think about is, this person is so broken. They did not go out and get arrested for DWI for nothing. It's not because they're stupid or because they're an idiot and, oh, I wouldn't have done that and I wouldn't have driven drunk. Yes, we've all done it. We all do stupid shit. But labeling each other and judging each other so much on that, it's got to stop. It has to stop. And so many people are taking their own lives. And like, I am not better than anybody else. I am not better than the next person. Maybe I just had a stronger support system. I don't know. But all I know is I want to be here to try to help, and because my story could be somebody's survival guide. I don't know. But I just hope that whatever it is you guys learned today or don't learn today or think I'm stupid, whatever, like, please tell me. But I just wish we could stop killing each other. We are killing each other, and it has to stop. I think we've gotten better. I think we've come a long way. Like, you guys are doing this thing, which I think is amazing. And they're monthly, is that right? Is this a monthly thing? Yeah. That's super cool. And obviously you have people that are repeat customers like Mark over here, and whoever else, I don't know, but I think we really need to make it easier for people to talk to each other and not, especially the brass down. A lot of times those are the ones that are hurting us. Those are some of the major struggles I dealt with as far as dealing with work and also dealing with grief, very complicated grief. And I just wish people would have been different. I wish certain people would have been just more empathetic. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I just want you to say, I understand and I'm here to help, or, hey, I understand, take the time you need, instead of, well, you need to get back to work and you need to do this and you need to do that. And you're like, it's just like, I love that quote. You can't tell someone who to love or how to grieve. And you can't, you can't. And I've met so many widows in my journey, and it is amazing how so many of us grieve the same way. But there's a bunch where I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't do that, or I didn't act like that. Or, you see different things, or sometimes you see good things like, oh, I should have done that, but we're all different. We're all different people. And I think it's really important to just focus on what's good about us, and to connect with the people that are around you who are willing to help. I mean, there's so many people in this group right now, I'm sure, that would help the next person next to them, no matter what, right? It's what we do as cops, right? We hope. As far as how am I now, I'm a work in progress. I will tell you that, well, all of you, COVID has destroyed so much of so many things for so many people. And for me, Moving to California in general has been really hard. I'm in a completely different job than what I was doing before. I've never worked harder in my life. I will tell you that. I'm an investigator with the state, so we investigate doctors, and I do investigations for the medical board. So we're the law enforcement end for that, and it's so different. And I don't know, like, I don't have any friends here. I have a couple of friends, but it's none of my circle that I have in Albuquerque, right? It's not my support group. And it's been really hard for me. There were months on end when I would just sit here, and especially when all the riots were going on, and Charles is a deputy with LA County, and he's on the SRT, which is the ERT team. And, you know, they were working those riots every day for how many nights, and he was gone. And I was in anxiety mode like no other. And I could not stop watching the news. And I had to, like, I finally talked to one of the therapists I used to talk to with the organization I belong to, the Concerns of Police Survivors. And she's like, stop watching the news, get off your couch, stop drinking. Like, I mean, we're here working during the day, like, cool. And everyone makes jokes like, you know, this generation is going to be raised by a bunch of alcoholic, you know, parents, but it's the truth. People are drinking during the day. I was doing it. And it was bad. It was really bad for me. And I was downward spiraling big time. And you know, it had me thinking about everything in my life. Why am I here? What did I do? What did I leave behind? Just fighting with my decisions to come out here and start this new life. And California is such a different place. I mean, hell, even learning the penal code, I'm still struggling with. Not even outside of that, but with my job, we have a whole section that we work with. It's the business and professional codes and the health and safety codes. So if you take all those books together, like the New Mexico State statute book is like this, right? All those together is like that. Like there's a lot of laws and regulations, and I'm in a place where I don't really understand a lot of it. So it's hard. And so it makes me feel incompetent. It makes me feel like maybe I bit off more than I can chew, kind of thing. But I still have my group that hold me up, and things have started to get better. I've started to really take control of my own life again, and I got myself back into doing some therapy because it had been like a year since I'd had any, since I left Albuquerque. And I will tell you that trying to find therapy during COVID was really, really, really difficult. I know that, I don't know, are you guys even doing in person? No. Yeah, they're not doing it here either. And I was doing EMDR. Has anyone in here done EMDR? I guess we can ask that question broadly and like talk about something that is life-saving. Anyone that's been through any type of trauma, it is amazing. I can't stress it enough, but I needed that. I needed that back. And I was really struggling with different things. And I was having PTSD with, you know, Charles being gone, and just with everything happening in the world, not even with him, but just our profession is being attacked in a way that, I mean, I've only been in this for 10 years, right? I don't know what was, you know, Chief Eden's on here too. We talk about this all the time, but things are changing in a way right now in our profession that is, it's wow, right? It's wow. And it's scary. It's scary to think that we have to tell, you know, Charles has a son, 6-year-old, that we take care of half the time. And Remy, we have to tell Remy not to tell anyone at school that he's a cop, or that I'm a police officers, because we don't want anyone to know, you know, or to tease him about whatever, like what happened in this world that we're now telling our kids that. But all these things, like, and it always brings me back to Dan. It always brings me back to how much he loved being a cop and how important it was to him and how good he was at it. And I have to sit there and it's like, I just slap myself and go, suck it up, Buttercup. You know, you freaking took an oath. You wear a badge. We all wear a badge, or did. And we have a job to do, like it or not. We have a job to do here. And instead of trying to kill each other with all the negativity and, you know, pointing fingers at that person, oh, they went out and drove their car drunk after getting in trouble, or they did this and they got in trouble for this. It's like, cool, we can sit there and do that all day long, but you're not helping anybody. You're not helping that person. How about you say, well, why did this happen? How did we fail this person by just watching this happen, like a train wreck, right? That's what so much that happens is happening in our agencies right now. And we're, like I said, I can beat it to the ground. We're killing ourselves. We're killing ourselves. We need to stop. We need to hold each other up. We need to do better. And we need to remember why we're here. And it's bigger than all of us. It's bigger than those feelings. And we have to remember to put some of that why back into what we're doing. And I think that why is what helps you heal in a lot of ways. You know, why me? You know, if not me, then who? And I think a lot of us get away from that in this profession anymore, especially when something bad happens, whether it's a traumatic critical incident or a death of a loved one, a nasty divorce. We all know how many cops are divorced and remarried. You know, we've all been there. A lot of us have been there. I think some of the important things I wanted to let you guys know too is part of why I wanted to leave New Mexico, and a lot of people might say, oh, you're just running away, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to be more than just Dan's widow. And it was hard for me to do that staying in Albuquerque. And I know that I was teaching a lot and I was presenting and doing those things that's, you know, of course, links me to that. But I don't want someone to just look at me and give me something because, oh, well, that's your Dan's widow. You know, of course you can do this or do that. It's like, I hope that makes sense to you guys. It was part of my healing. I needed to be able to stand on my own 2 feet and really remember the strength inside of me that I didn't even know I had before I met Dan. And I think he saw that in me. And I think, I know that like there were days I didn't want to go back to the academy. I wanted to quit. I wanted to quit. And he didn't let me. And I had to keep reminding myself of that. And I think that just falls into everything that we deal with grief, with trauma, with all of it, is you have to remember you can't quit. You've got to, tomorrow's another day. And so I wanted to really make sure I stood out on my own. And that just wasn't who I was. I was more than that. I am more than that. And I have a chance, I'm living it, of someone who loves me again, which I never thought I'd ever find anyone love me again. Loving this broken mess. Loving a widow is hard. I mean, he could probably tell you stories about how hard it is. And I can't imagine what it's like to be in his shoes sometimes, because I love 2 men. And it's not like the man I love is something that we had a divorce or there was bitterness or whatever. It was, you know, I was very much in love with Dan when he died. And to have that ripped away from you is very hard. And so it's like I have bouts with that, and we talk about that in my widow group. We talk about all those things and battling with the feelings of being in love with 2 people. It's hard. I can't imagine the strength it takes for the other person to really take that on. But I don't know. I just kind of want to ask you guys. I'm sure I've rambled enough here. I'm tired of hearing myself talk, but I do want to ask you guys, like, what do you think I could have done differently? I mean, it's kind of one of those open-ended questions, I know. But knowing me, knowing the situation with work and with things that way, it's easy to say, oh, just don't pay attention to what other people say. Yeah, but we all know how hard that is in our professions, right? So please, I'd like to hear comments or anything from you guys on that. If you have more questions about anything else I've talked about, please ask.
Just so everyone knows on the network, you guys can either unmute and ask your question, or you can type it into the chat and I can read it for you, or your answer for the question. Apologize.
Don't be shy.
Michelle, hi. I work for Albuquerque Fire Rescue. I just got to say that I did run calls with Dan, and when I did show up on those scenes, I always felt like it was going to be okay, because he was always one to smooth things over. And but to answer your question, I think that you did everything exactly the way you were supposed to. You learn things from the hard decisions or the bad decisions that we think they're bad decisions for ourselves, but you wouldn't be where you are today without taking that path that you took. And yeah, and you're a very strong woman, and I highly regard everything you've done for our city, for BCSO, and where you are now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So Don Roberto wrote, I don't think anyone can say what you could or should have done. It is your journey to make, and it is our job to support. She asked a question, actually, what could we have done differently to help you? And what did you, or what you did, what you continue to do gives us all strength, and thank you.
Thanks, Dawn. I think, I could just hit on that again. What could we have done differently to help you? I think the biggest thing that we do to each other, guys, as cops, we tear each other down. And, it's really sad that that has to happen. And it's really sad that we will tear each other apart that way. When someone's going through a hard time, we, point the finger or, whisper in silence behind their back while they're struggling with something. And I know it's human nature to gossip or do whatever, but just next time that happens, or you find yourself kind of gossiping about somebody else's unfortunate situation, just remember that we all have shit. We all have trauma. We all have bad things that happen in our lives. But hey, you know what? Your track record of getting through bad days so far is 100%. And if you find yourself starting to go down that gossip road or doing something to hurt someone else that's dealing with something tough, ask yourself, is there another way I can handle this? Is there something I could be doing that would help this person instead of hurt them? And it may just be, hey, can I just sit with you for a while? Or what do you need? I think that would be the best advice I could offer to someone going through a hard time. And what happened in my case was so public and so out there. Believe me, I have had more people than not step in and support than I have the latter, right? I don't want to put the focus on those people, but I want to put the focus on the people that do help. There are people that I didn't know before this, and I laugh, like my soul family, we have my soul family that I'm a part of. And it's all these people that I met after Dan died. Chief Eden, Kat Wright, Joan, the funeral director. Like, we have this group of people that came into my life in those nights, those moments, and never left. And I didn't know them at all. Never knew them. And I like to think of them as gifts that Dan gave me, that, yes, I lost the love of my life. I miss him every day, and I miss him in ways I can't even explain to you. But I gained so many good relationships with people, and I gained strength and wisdom in things that you never want to have, but at the same time, going through life, if you don't experience pain or loss, I think it really does make us better people. It makes us better listeners. It makes us better fixers and helpers to other people, because you can say, I've been there, or I know what you're going through, or, hey, if you need to talk, I'm here. So I'm very blessed for the people that did step in and support. So I don't want to put the emphasis on the people that don't, because those people don't matter. But instead of becoming one of those people, just ask yourself, what can I do differently to help this person? Sorry, I'm reading.
So Sergeant Drager said, I know we wish we could have done more. Glad you found happiness in California and just glad you come to visit occasionally.
Yes, I have to come get my hair done in Albuquerque. I'm coming home here in a few weeks as well. I'll be there in the middle of March, 20th, 19th. So.
Michelle, I actually have a question. You stated that some of the people that gave you the most support were people that you didn't know. Was that awkward, or did you think like they had alternative motives, or do you think that it was just kind of who they were and they came in, like you said, they were there from Dan?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I'm glad you asked that, because the thing about grief like that, especially when it's this complicated grief, like your loved one being murdered or just dying, period, you're in a place where you're very vulnerable and you kind of trust a lot of things. I'm glad that I still have my instincts about me, and I did meet people during that. I mean, there were some people that, of course, they had ill intentions, but they were weeded out pretty quickly. I think it's that phrase, you know, you show people who you are, or if people show you who they are, you should believe them. And that goes both ways, with good or bad. And I had so many good people come out of that. And the times when I was in like my darkest places, those people were the ones that really came in. And not to say that my friends I already had weren't. I will say that some of the friends I had that I thought would be there ended up peace out. And that happens. But I think, again, the people that I've come to rely on also have had trauma in their life or experienced pain, and they understand. I think we kind of like help each other out that way when, you know, people who have been through something together stick together. It's like the group of widows. Like, I don't know any of these women before that, but we all share this common, you know, tragedy. But yet I've made some of the best friends in these groups, because knowing that somebody has been through the same pain that you have, I think changes your outlook. Like, it doesn't necessarily make you don't, oh, they have ulterior motives, whatever. Sometimes they do. That's, I mean, I think I've talked about in my benefits class and stuff about line of duty death, that people will try to defraud the widows or, you know, widowers, whatever. They will try to scam them out of money and whatever else. They would try to act like, oh, I'm going to set up this GoFundMe account for you. And then all of a sudden they take the money and run. Like, that stuff happens. It does. Like, we're all cops. We know what kind of shit goes on in the real world. But we just have to remind ourselves that if people are coming into your life, yes, of course, don't just accept them. Like, you have to do your, you have to vet the people out, right? But I don't think I needed to do that with these people for obvious reasons, if that answers your question.
No, I definitely did. Niels has a question, but before Niels goes, I'm going to go ahead and read what Rebecca wrote. And she said, I've been in a really bad place before, and I found my radar on who was genuinely sincere and those who weren't. Went up, and I could tell the difference instantly. Do you feel that you had that experience as well? So do you feel like you had that radar of being able to weed out people go or get better for you?
Yeah. So Rebecca, thanks for your question. Your instincts kind of take over in certain ways, especially when you're in that survival mode. Absolutely. But not everybody's survival mode. And I've seen this happen with other widows. They, especially when, like, we're all cops, right? We have an innate ability to be instinctual, and, you know, we're trained observers, we're aware, we have spidey senses that a lot of other people just don't have, or they're not trained to have. So you have a widow, so to speak, who, let's say she's a stay-at-home mom and she doesn't really have a lot of friends. She just stays home with her kids, doesn't really get out much. And then all of a sudden this happens, and now she's got all these people interested and wanting to help. And a lot of the time, they're so grateful to just have anyone there to talk to that they will let them in. And that's where the problem comes in, is I guess I could just say the layperson may not have that radar. They may not have the ability to fend off, you know, the enemy, so to speak, because we all know what death does to people, brings out the worst in people. And we're not even going to talk about that, but I think in our experiences, I think we're better at it. And I think we're the first people to not trust instead of trust sometimes. So I can see where you would say that your radar went up right away on who was genuinely sincere. And you figure it out pretty quickly. You figure out that, you know what, I'm having a really hard time right now and I'm really angry and I just need to be alone. And those people that are on your side will really understand that. I mean, I had a friend who, she got really upset with me for the dumbest thing. And at the time I felt bad. I felt like it was my fault. And, oh, you did this and you acted like this. And I took this time off to go with you here. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that happened. You decided to do those things. You decided to come and be with me. You decided to take time off work. I didn't force you to do that, but it was that person's way of, you know, turning it around on me. And then I felt like, oh my God, am I doing this grieving thing wrong? Like, did I do something wrong? Am I fucking this up basically? Like, did I screw up here in this grief process? And then you start second guessing yourself thinking, wow, am I making wrong choices? So I guess that can go a lot of ways, but I think in our field, we definitely have radar where other people might not have. But that would be something to tell people when they do go through loss, is like, hey, just be careful about, you know, who you let in. I hope that answers your question.
Big time. Niels has a comment or a question, and then after Niels, we will go to Mark.
So do you have any advice for this audience, which is mostly cops, about their own death and how to prepare for that?
Yes. How many of you have sat in my class? A few of you in here. I know a lot of you probably have not, because I've been gone now for a while, but you've got to have your affairs in order. We work a dangerous job. You guys, especially that are on patrol, work a very dangerous job. And if you don't have stuff together, your family is who's going to suffer. Who cares about you if you die? You're dead. Who cares? It doesn't bother you. None of your bills are going to follow you. None of your baby mama drama is going to follow you. None of your ex-wife drama is going to follow you. It's going to follow your family. And I know, Jeff, you're laughing, but I can't tell you guys enough. Like, get it handled. Talk to each other about this. Talk to your spouse. Talk to your kids. I mean, careful with kids, depending on how old they are. But let them know this is a reality that I may not come home from work. There's a truth in that. And I know people don't want to talk about death. I know they don't. And especially in our job, they you know, I know, I'm sure we all know the guy who doesn't want to go to the police funeral. He won't go, or she won't go. Like, nope, I'm not going. That's an omen. I'm not going. It's a reality, guys. We're all, like you said, Neil said earlier, we're all going to die. And we don't have a choice in that. That's not up to us. I mean, yeah, we can rely on training and our instincts and, you know, what we can control sometimes, but a lot of times you don't have control over any of that. It's not in your hands. So get it together, make your plans, write it down, make sure someone who knows where to find this information. Don't like keep it locked up in a safe that no one has a combination to. But just try to get those things done, even if it's simple. It doesn't have to be like, I think doing a will and going through paperwork, it's really hard for people to grasp, like, oh my God, that's a lot of work. I have to fill out all these papers and blah, 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 blah. It can be, yes, it can be. I will tell you, I have a living trust and it is probably 400 pages that I had to initial each one. But that's different. And of course, paranoid, right? I'm paranoid. So now I've done this because Dan didn't have anything like put together. Like, I mean, all he did right was the fact that I'm his wife and I was, you know, this person that I didn't have to fight with anyone else in his family over money. But I'm telling you guys, these things happen where people have their ex-wife as beneficiary still, or ex-girlfriend. And I mean, this comes down to legality in the end. Again, it's not you. You're dead. No one cares. But your family is going to be the one to suffer. Do you want to put your wife or husband, your kids through that? Get it done. It doesn't take long. It really doesn't. You can do your own will on LegalZoom for like $80 and it's like 5 pages. That's my soapbox.
Thank you.
Awesome, Mark. And I know you had a question.
Yep, I actually, you know me, Jeff, I'm a little long-winded, so bear with me. So, Nils, first of all, you absolutely nailed it, man. You really did. And it's perfect timing because I'm meeting a friend of mine tonight that just lost his mom, who's grieving really bad. I'm meeting him for dinner. So I wrote a whole list of notes to talk to him about. But thank you, brother. You nailed it big time. And Michele, you gotta remember one thing, and you'll probably agree with me, or hopefully you'll agree with me when I say this. You were also injured in the line of duty, also emotionally, and you realized that you were struggling, and you got some help, and that's just absolutely phenomenal. And when I do my mental health, oops, sorry guys, and when I do my mental health presentations, I talk about physical injury versus emotional injuries, and they go hand in hand. And you said a lot of people didn't reach out to you, and the reason being is they just don't know what to say. But on the flip side of that, Michele, if you got shot and survived your shooting, or you broke your leg, or you came down with cancer, God forbid, or something like that, everybody, come back to work whenever you want, everything's fine, this, that, and the other thing. But when you have an emotional injury, you're treated like you're carrying bad luggage.
Scarlet letter.
What's that?
Scarlet letter.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, true. That absolutely. So you're a very powerful woman. Thank you for your story, and God bless you. And things will get better.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Melissa had a question for you.
Hi, Michele. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for agreeing to come on SCION with us. When I initially emailed your old email address at the sheriff's department, and when it bounced back, I was like, oh no. I was really nervous about tracking you down to California because I wasn't sure if you wanted to be tracked down. And so your immediate response to say thank you and to immediately agree to whatever it was that we wanted or needed from you, I appreciate that so much, and your willingness to come on. I had a question about what you said about destructive behaviors. When you're talking to other widows or other people in crisis, like, what do you suggest? I mean, is it best to just flat out be like, this is self-destructive and you're gonna, get arrested or go to jail or get hurt, or you just try and keep them safe as best you can? Like, what do you suggest when you're watching someone else and you know why they're doing these things, right? They're in a lot of pain, but how do you help?
That's a good question and a very tough one. We actually had, I'll share you guys a little story. It won't take too long, but they do the spouses retreats in Potosi, Missouri, in the, I forget what the name of the place is, but it's a YMCA lodge that basically it's out in the middle of nowhere, and it's a weekend retreat we do with spouses only. And they do retreats for everyone else, kids, parents, siblings, coworkers even. But the spouses one is probably one of the biggest ones they have next to the children's. They started doing 2 now. But one of my friends that I met, she's from Northern California, and I met her my first time going out to the spouses retreat, and then we went back for the second one. Well, during the second one, she was having some issues. She was drinking pretty heavily, and when she was drinking, they were in their room, and she was talking with some of the other widows from California. There's a big group from California, and they actually, before I even met Charles, they were the group that took me in. Just strange. Maybe it was meant to be that way. But my friend, she started to talk about an incident that had happened to her where she's a anesthesiologist nurse, and she works in a hospital. She's pretty busy. and she was raped by another doctor, another anesthesiologist that she was working with. And of course she's drunk and she's telling us the story. And right away, some of the other women that she was talking to, you know, could see her drinking and what was happening. And she was basically on a self-destructive path. And what they wanted to do right away, and Nils, you can probably help with this, and I thought it was a really bad idea, but she came to me. She was my roommate, and she came to me and she said, this is what's happening. They're treating me like a child. They took all the alcohol out of the room. They did all this. They're telling me I can't drink and I need to go get help. And it turned into this destructive thing where she was like, I'm trying to tell them something that was obviously very guarded, right? And she felt ashamed about it. She felt all the feelings that, you know, people who are rape victims feel. And some of these women were former police officers too. So I think they felt they needed to kind of fix the situation and help her and be like, okay, we're going to take the alcohol away and right away, instead of helping her, what it did is it spiraled out of control. And now she wants nothing to do with anybody in the group. I think I'm the only one, minus a few others, that she talks to anymore. It pushed her away. And there's a way to handle someone when they are having a problem with alcohol. I am not a trained therapist. I am not, you know, a trained, you know, anyone to deal with alcoholism or any of that. But what I saw happen to her, I felt in my heart was not the right thing to do. It was, she felt shamed right away. And she felt like she shouldn't have said anything. And that was really awful. And I felt bad because I wanted to, like, and I talked to some of these other girls. I said, look, you can't just go and make her feel like, oh, you're not allowed to drink anymore. You're done. We're taking this from you. Like, she's a little kid, can't make decisions for herself, right? And I just don't think that was the right thing to do. In saying that, when you're dealing with somebody who is obviously on a downward spiral and they're doing destructive behavior, it's like walking on eggshells. You have to be careful with people like that. You can't go in right away and just take everything away. I think if somebody it's like dealing with someone who's suicidal. You have to be very careful what you say, what you do, because people, like you said, they're broken and they're in a lot of pain. And depending on what you say or don't say, could be the thing that makes them change their thinking or not change their thinking. I don't know if that helps at all, but it's a very slippery slope when dealing with destructive behavior. I mean, obviously destructive behavior doesn't always have to be drinking, right? People can be doing other behaviors. They can be sleeping around, or they can be doing other irresponsible things, you know, stealing. That's another common thing. You have people that become like kleptos when they're dealing with trauma. Different things. It just depends on what it is. But alcoholism, I think, is one of those things where you need someone who's trained more to handle something like that and ask for other help instead of trying to mitigate it yourself. And Nils, you can please chime in on this because you are the doctor in the group with that in mind. But
you got it right. You got it right. You need to find out where they are and meet them where they are and understand their story and why they drink and why they may not want to drink. And that's about it.
Yeah. And I think just asking questions, talking to people, say, I don't know how to fix you. I don't know how to necessarily help you, but I'm here to listen. And sometimes that's all somebody needs. And then, you know, and just gauge your conversation and, you know, just say, hey, invite them out to do an event or do something that doesn't include drinking. That's always a start. Like for me, my gym crew became we started doing things together that didn't involve me going out to the bar or going, you know, whatever. We were doing hikes and we were working out together. We were competing together. And I think if you just can try to take that person out of a situation where they're going to want to drink, I think is an important thing to remember. Like, oh, let's go have a drink and discuss whatever. No. Bad idea. Don't do that. Sometimes it's okay, you know, but if you see somebody that's struggling with that in particular, don't do that. That's my advice on that.
Thank you.
My 2 cents.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Michele before we start wrapping up? And while we're kind of waiting and we're in that awkward like silence because we're over Zoom, I just wanted to say thank you so much, Michele, for your presentation. I didn't realize that you had been involved in additional things prior to Dan's death, like your shooting and things like that. And it's amazing how much that I kind of don't think things happen for coincidence, but how maybe that had happened to prepare you to help you with later on in life. And I think that's kind of everything in life is if we address it early, then we can better ourselves and be ready for the next big event that comes in. And so I do appreciate your story, and I appreciate you for you. I see you as Michele at not, a different label as other people may have seen you before. But I do appreciate your work and the work that you continue to do, and your presentation today. It moved me a lot. I expected it, but it hit me a lot harder today, and I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much. That was excellent.
You're welcome. I thank you so much for having me, guys. It's about my shooting. My shooting happened 10 months to the day before Dan got shot. I got into a shooting on January 1st of 2015. So it's like the 21st is an omen. I don't know, that 21st is a weird day for me. But I think you're absolutely right, Jeff, that it did prepare me for what was coming, and I wouldn't have known that. But I think where I was at the time, if I wouldn't have gotten the help that I did get, and I will tell you this, I didn't ask for help. I got pushed into psych services. I got sort of pushed in by my lieutenant at the time, who cared about me a lot and saw that I was having, I had a panic attack on duty, and saw that I was reacting to something that had just happened to me and I didn't even understand it. So I wanted to bring that up, and I forgot to say that earlier, but I didn't necessarily go seeking the therapy after my shooting. I kind of got forced into it, and it was for my own good. So sometimes you have people that are watching out for you that can see things that you can't see. You're on the train and you can't see what's coming, you're blind, but the other people can see for you. And I was very blessed to have that person to see that I needed help, and I didn't even know it. So look out for your people, guys. Look out for the people you supervise or that you work with. You see somebody struggling, say something. Say something about it. You never know, you might save their life. That's all I got.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes.
That gave me the idea of a question. So after your husband, was shot and then died, what do you think when you look back on it and think, I didn't, even though I knew it was available, I didn't seek psychological support. When you think about it now, what comes to mind about how come you did it?
So it wasn't after Dan, it was after my shooting that I didn't seek help. After Dan, they were there, and
I see.
Yeah, it was after
Okay.
my shooting. So nothing had happened to Dan at that point. I had never been involved in anything.
I see.
So that's where that came from. But yeah, I had the psych services with me at the hospital throughout the week that we were there, and I was very much in touch with them to the point where I even went outside of the group to see a specialized EMDR therapist who I still talk to today.
Yeah.
But amazing therapy. If you've ever done it, if you need it, it's great.
So the first time you had this traumatic experience with the shooting in your own police work, you didn't recognize that you were struggling, and you didn't recognize that psychological support would be helpful to you until somebody else pointed it out.
Right. So
The first time.
So my partner at work, she got attacked by someone, and I was the first one to get to her. That happened first, and then my shooting happened a month later. And I think I felt really strong. I felt empowered because I just survived. This guy shot at me and I survived, and I did what I was supposed to do. I reacted the way I was trained. I was in that survival mode. I was like, I am good. I am a badass. I just did what I was supposed to. I reacted the way I was supposed to. I'm fine. And then lo and behold, a week later, I'm back at work on a containment with a guy with a gun who ran from a guy I work with. And the helicopter's over and the guy supposedly is hiding right by where I'm standing on this perimeter. And I just started to have a panic attack. And I didn't even understand what was happening. I went back, we cleared the call, the guy wasn't there. And I went back to go, back someone up on a traffic stop, and I come back and I remember leaving the stop because I said, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm good." I'm like, "I'm gonna go back to the sub. Like I don't feel so good." And I remember not feeling good. I remember feeling like my vest was choking me, and I was like, I just have to get out of all this stuff. And I felt like this overwhelming, like I was choking. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, it took me to the hospital. It was this big old thing. And I'm like, I don't need to go to the hospital. I'm fine. Like, but I was having reactions to other things. I didn't even know what was going on, but
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So we're coming up to our hour-and-a-half mark. And so we're gonna go ahead and start wrapping up. If you guys have any questions, comments for Michele, you can send them to myself, Melissa, or Nils, and we can get them to her. I put in the chat, if you guys wanted to learn more about EMDR, there is a recorded lecture from Nils about it on GoScion.org that you guys can check out. We appreciate it. We will see you guys all next month. Let me pull out exactly what day. I should have that ready. It'll be on April 1st. So April Fool's Day, we will be here and we will have another great presentation. Thank you again so much, Michele, for your words of wisdom, and we appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Be safe out there. Have a good day.